In 2009, a young Greg Baxter left the Tottenham Court Road tube station and walked along the A40 toward his destination, the British Museum. An avid traveler and football fan, he had heard of a new exhibit highlighting the role of sport in cultures around the world. Along the way, his eye was drawn to a colorful set of buildings under construction just to the south that he would later know to be Central St. Giles. Despite having been born in Khabarovsk, Russia, and growing up in London, Greg had a strange American accent. "One day, I'll be a world-renowned football agent with an office in those buildings," he said to no one in particular. Then he headed back to his flat to tell his plans to his flatmates, Matt Broadway and Greg Bros.
Baxter, Broadway, and Bros. How may I help you? No, sir. It's Bros, not Bras. Yes, that happens a lot. Please hold while I transfer your call.
Grant! Great to hear from you. Hey man, I just heard from Stuart Brown over at Sterling Albion. They've agreed to the 4 years terms. The €6 a week that we agreed upon. So you're good to go for the next 4 years. It's a great place to develop. Don't worry, mate. I don't think you're gonna be there for 4 years if you keep up that work ethic. Okay, so go celebrate with your family. We'll be up to see you soon. I'm trying to turn the phone off. Matt, Greg, that's the last one in. Hey man, I want us watching these kids like a hawk. If we start to sniff any interest from other clubs, let's talk. You know the deal. Wait until a good performance or two before reaching out to your media contacts to write those articles. So let's go celebrate on the roof terrace before heading home, all right? I'll see you guys up there in a minute. And with that last signing, Baxter, Broadway, and Bros had prospects on 5 different continents ranging from Chile to Mexico, Malaysia, Indonesia, and many more. Let's follow along to see what happens with their careers. Hello my friends, welcome into a brand new experiment on the channel using Football Manager 2019. I did a similar experiment in FM18, check out the link up there. But we've made some adjustments based on feedback I received from the community and in comments of that series. But first, what's the overall premise? So we create young football prospects, we put them in obscure leagues, we give them high potential, and we see what happens with their careers. I'll go a little bit further into the actual setup here in a minute, but that's the overall premise. In the last edition of the series, we had players in unplayable leagues inside of Football Manager, meaning the leagues they started out in are not ones that you could just load up the standard Football Manager database without using any custom downloads and play in, such as Tajikistan or Bhutan or Zambia. And we ran into some problems where they just couldn't escape those countries. Like Football Manager was not set up to go, hey, let's poach some prospects from Zambia and so on. We had one player get stuck in an amateur club in Toronto called FC Ukraine, which is kind of interesting in and of itself. And so we took that feedback, and in this edition of the experiment, we have created 11 players and put them into obscure leagues, but they're still playable leagues inside of Football Manager 2019 with the standard database. The other thing we ran into in that series is I tried to create players that were average across the board. I tried to make them 10 attributes on everything. So injury proneness, finishing, determination, all those things, we gave them a 10. And the feedback was, we had strikers, for example, that started out with 10 finishing, and they just were never going to reach their potential because they started out lower than they should. So what we've done in this edition is we've just let the database decide. Inside of the FM19 editor, you can choose a range of potential ability. And so we have done that. All of the players except one have the next, not the highest, but the second highest potential ability range. And we have one player that I don't even know who it is, who has the highest potential range. How do I not know? I let my wife select and then she saved it and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through this experiment series and try and figure out who was that gem, who was the one with the highest potential ability, while also going, let's see what happens with all the other players. Because if you watch the other experiment series, spoiler alert, you know that the highest potential player in that experiment did not end up having the best career. So it kind of makes it a little bit interesting. So let me walk you through how we've set things up for this year. I thought we would adapt things just a little bit this year and have all 11 players under one ambitious agent, the aforementioned Greg Baxter. Now, all 11 player names, Greg Baxter, his other agent friends, Matt Broadway and Greg Bros that I mentioned in the episode intro here, all those people are supporters of mine on Patreon. Now, if you're not familiar with Patreon, just a quick thing on that. It's a platform that allows someone like you to support content creators you love financially. It doesn't have to be me. It might be a songwriter or an artist that you love, but it's a way for you to chip in a buck or two to help them out so that they don't have to, quote, sell out or rely on ads. So it's a way to support this channel financially. So one of the tiers I have, I only have 2 tiers. I don't know, I said one of the tiers. I have 2 tiers on Patreon. One is just, hey, thanks for what you do. We appreciate you. Here's a buck or two. And then at the $10 a month or higher level, I promise my patrons that I'll put them into episodes, whether it's experiments where they're a player in the experiment or the agent, or I throw them into other games that I stream, stuff like that. So I just want to say thanks if you are a supporter of mine on Patreon, or if you just watch all my videos and comment and hit the like button, stuff like that. I just want to make sure everybody's clear. It's like, who are these players? Where'd you get these names? It all comes from my supporters on Patreon, and I just want to say thanks. Okay, so what exactly is an ambitious agent? So I'm not an expert. I said this in FM18. It applies to FM19. I'm not an expert at making database changes in Football Manager, but here's what I did with Greg Baxter inside the database. I gave him 20 ambition, 8 loyalty, 7 patience, 15 business, and 15 touting his players to other clients with a worldwide scope. My thinking here is you've got a guy who's ambitious. He's not as patient. He's a little below average on the patience and not loyal. I don't know if that's loyal to his players. Surely not. Or loyal to the clubs, which is kind of what I was going for. He's got good business acumen, and he is more than willing to take his players' names and shop them around to get them to move. Because again, the idea with this series is, can we get these players to move clubs and move up in the world? Well, if you get an agent that is all about that, surely that helps out a little bit. So we'll have to see if all 11 players go their entire careers keeping Greg as their agent, or if they get frustrated with some of his hijinks and they go somewhere else. Now, for the player attribute changes, I told you I pretty much am letting the database decide when you load it all the attributes. I did make a couple changes to make you aware of. 2 of them. Ambition is a 14, loyalty is an 8. Again, the idea being I want ambitious players who want to move up in their careers, and they're not going to be as loyal to their clubs. They're going to be loyal to themselves just a little bit. I didn't give them like a 1 on loyalty. I wanted them to be somewhat loyal, right? And then with mental attributes, I gave them a determination of 12. The idea there being, if you start off with like a 2, that's really going to hinder your development and ability to move up, I think, in my opinion. I'm not an expert. That's just my take on it. So I gave them all 12 determination, just slightly above average. Then, as we saw in FM18's version of this experiment, we had players go on to be head coaches, assistant coaches, goalkeeping coaches, stuff like that. So I have given them job preferences after they hang up their boots. Head coach 15, assistant 13, regular just coach 10, everything else a 1. So they don't want to be a physio or a scout or a goalkeeping coach or anything like that. So now that we've kind of set that up for you, the last thing is, again, 10 of these players have a potential ability attribute range that is the second highest range. I want to say that's like 160 to 190 in the editor, with 200 being the max. And we have 1 random player that was randomly selected. We did a random number generator, and then I showed my wife how to pick out a player and change it and then click save. So I don't know who it is. 1 player has a 170 to 200 potential ability range. So our challenge as we go through this series is not only to see what happens with all of our players, but try and figure out who's that hidden gem. So what I'm going to do is this save file from June 25th, 2018 is the start of the series. I have that as a separate save file, like a separate file. I have duplicated that file to do our vacationing forward to see what happens. So when we get to the very end of the series, we can come back and take a look at who had the highest potential ability to start out. That's how we'll set things up. Some other things from a setup standpoint that I did before I show you each player, I gave them all the same birthday. So it's June 30th of 2002. So currently, up as you see up there, it's June 25th. So we're 5 days from their 16th birthday. I set all the contracts to go through June 30th of 2020. But what you will see here is it has adjusted the contract end dates based off of what I'm presuming are youth contract rules in those leagues. Now, how did we find those leagues? I went into the FM19 database editor, and there is an option to sort leagues by continent. So I went into continents, and it's got, North America, South America, Europe, and so on. And then I ranked domestic divisions that were not extinct, because there are some divisions in the database that no longer exist, and rank them by reputation. So we found the leagues around the world in each continent that had the lowest reputations. I also was able to go in and confirm this in the standard database by loading every single league, going in and testing and going like, what is the reputation rank of that league? So as you'll see, a majority of the players are currently with teams that are in the second division or lower of each country that they're in. I took 5 continents because that's essentially how it is broken up inside of Football Manager, and went for the lowest reputation leagues. So as an example, it does put Australia in with Asia in the database, but unfortunately the Hyundai A-League is like the 8th best reputation league in Asia. So no one is going to be playing in Australia, which might, depending on your definition of what a continent is, may throw some people off. So that's why I've taken the 11 players and sprinkled them throughout the 5 continents that I could find essentially in the database, right? North America, South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia, obviously. Now, let's go take a look at our players. First up, coming to us from Club Deportes Copiapó in the Chilean Primera Division B, which is the second division in Chile, is Juan Echeverria. Attacking midfielder, could be a striker, 30 euros a week until December 31st, 2021. I think I told you I set up the contracts initially to go through like 2020, but what I've found is Football Manager will adjust those based off of the youth contract setup in that country. So he's 15, he turns 16 on June 30th. I thought it was supposed to be on July 1st, but he's on June 30th. 30 a week, worth $725K. What on earth? But look at him. I mean, you say it looks like a tasty little nugget, I could say for sure. 13 flair off the ball, heading, first touch, finishing. I mean, he's looking pretty good jumping reach, 6 feet tall. What will happen with Juan Echeverria? Let's find out. Coming to us from Stirling Albion, up the Beanos. As you noticed in the intro, I mentioned his first name. It's Grant Corrigan. So Scotland's League 2. Grant Corrigan is a defensive midfielder with maybe a chance to be a regular midfielder, however they want to use him. Again, 12 determination in there. Vision, work rate, tackling is good. Long shots, first touch, pretty good physicals. Concentration, composure, a little bit of a concern. He's on 6 euros a week through May 31st of 2022. I left euros as the currency because I figure most of these players are going to end up either in South America or in Europe, and it kind of gives us a standard way to kind of look at their wages and their wage rises. So if you're tracking at home, we had a guy, Eduardo Valente, in FM18 who had a spreadsheet where he tracked everyone's wages and their values and all that kind of stuff all the way through the series. Here you go. Grant Corrigan, Stirling Albion. Coming to us from, on the agent page, it says it's Persarang Sarang. The long version is apparently Persatuan Sepak Bola Sarang, which is in the Indonesian Divisi Utama, which is essentially the second division in Indonesia, is Jordan Bradford, my friends. He is a goalkeeper, 12 aerial reach, 14 handling, 11 kicking, 11 one-on-ones, 14 reflexes, 16 natural fitness and agility. That's pretty good. Low stamina, goalkeeper. You just stand in one spot, right? That's probably good. Making 30 a week, valued at 33.5K. What will happen with Jordan Bradford? Next up, coming to us from Cimarrones de Sonora and the Ascencio MX, which is in the second division of the Mexican football setup, we have Jonathan Needham, Interesting enough, he's not a key player. Armando Zamorano is more of a key player than Jonathan, who's just a hot prospect. Again, he's got the same birth date, all that kind of stuff. €10 a week, worth 53 grand. Midfielder. He looks to be more an advanced playmaker than he does like a ball-winning midfielder, right? He's got decent aggression, but tackling is a 6. Passing, vision, looks to be more of an advanced playmaker. What do you think will happen with Jonathan Needham? All right, coming to us from Yeller Olsen. I think the A with the thing is an all sound. So Yeller Olsen IF in the 3rd Division 2 of Norway. Amateur team makes you a tad nervous, gotta admit, because we had issues with amateur players, like I mentioned earlier in the video from last time, is Paul Colombani. He's a midfielder as well. We have lots of people want to be midfielders, but look at that. I mean, if he can't move, physicals are incredible. Again, looks like an advanced playmaker. First touch, long shots, marking. Maybe he's a box-to-box midfielder. Passing is a 50. Ooh, worth only 68 grand, making $0 a week, my friends. Do you think Paul is going to make a move? And if so, how quickly will it be? Because I've got to think, if he's not getting paid, someone's going to come sniffing around. But I'm not familiar with the youth rules in Norway, so maybe you know better. Next up, playing for Albion FC in Segunda Division Profesional in Uruguay, it is Asil Hetland. Making 40 a week, or 36.5 grand. Attacking winger, right? So looks to be an inside forward or a winger, depending on which side he plays on. Crossing is good, dribbling, first touch. Lacks a little bit after that from a technical standpoint, in my opinion, but good pace. Maybe he can develop. You know, you definitely are thinking with this, I'm thinking right winger rather than inside forward because of the, 10 flare off the ball is not as good. Positioning is a 1. Got some work to do. Where do you think he will end up? He's on contract until, boy, the red on the blue is really, really wonderful. June 30th, 2021. Will he move before then? Next up for University Kebangsaan Malaysia, also known as UKM. And I'm not just saying that, it's actually UKM. That's what, anyway. In the Astro Liga Perdana Malaysia. Yeah, let's see. Is that the top division? No, it is the 2nd division. Almost all these are at least 2nd divisions. Is Andrew C. Again, a midfielder. Okay, a little more mental. Like, he doesn't have the 15s on the finishing and the dribbling and stuff like that, but overall looks to be a tasty prospect. Could do like the box-to-box. Could be an advanced playmaker. He's also got the green here for the attacking midfield, so which one is he really? Interesting. Making 6 a week until November 30th of 2021. We'll have to see what happens with Andrew. Andrew C. You saw what I did there. You knew I had to throw Sterling Albion because that was like the first save I ever did on Football Manager 2017. And Cabinteely FC, because if you haven't watched my Building a Nation series, boop, you definitely should. We are with Cabinteely. So in the Irish First Division with Cabinteely, we have John Ozkotan. Hopefully I said that right. He sent me pronunciation help on that because I asked for it because I hate butchering people's names. Worth 220 grand, my friends. 35 a week as an attacking midfielder with apparently the potential to do some stuff on the wings, even though he can't cross. Definitely more probably inside forward if he's doing that. But it is pretty good attributes from a technical starting out. Again, 15, about to turn 16. We'll have to see. 220 grand seems like quite a lot, my friends. Let's see what happens there. Playing for the Young Lions of Singapore's Great Eastern Yeos S League, which is the top division in Singapore, is Marcus From. Striker, our first striker that we've got, 15 a week, worth 80 grand, on contract until November 30th of 2021. Pretty good. I mean, I put him right in the first team, in my opinion. What's also going to be interesting is, will they start getting international caps early? If so, what will that look like? So there you go. There's Marcus. And last but not least, playing for Ubuntu Cape Town Football Club in the first division in South Africa is Danny Dobson. Also not a key player, so he's got some competition apparently. Striker option, looks pretty good. 5'7". Maybe he'll grow a little bit. He's got 127 pounds of muscle on him. He's not very strong. He's got some work to do, but really good technicals. Again, I hope that the 12 determination will help him out. Worth 48 grand, making 15 a week until June 30th of 2022. What will happen with Danny? So here we go, my friends. This is Greg Baxter's lineup of Baxter, Broadway, and Bros. What will happen with these players? Looking at the values ranging from $725 to $31.5 grand. I guess we can add how much their wages are. I'll add that in for the next video. But that's where we're at. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments. Make sure, especially with this being the first episode of a new series, if you wouldn't mind, if you did enjoy this, leave a comment, hit that like button. It tells YouTube to send more people here. Let's get this spreading out there. I'm really curious to see how this ends up. I'm going to hop forward now, and we will take it from there. We'll vacation it 1 year, and we'll see where our players are.